Hi, it's Sherri from A Quilting Life, and I'm here today to share with you a new quilt pattern with our new Emma collection fabrics. I'm super excited to share a little bit about this pattern and these fabrics. This is the first new pattern that I'm sharing with you, and I have to say it's my favorite, and I have some really fun ideas and some fun things to tell you about this collection. Let's get started. Okay, I am really excited about this quilt. I'm actually really excited about all of the new quilts with this collection and with the collection itself. I'm just going to hold the bundle right here for a second, but Chelsea and I will be filming a video with more details and showing you all of the individual prints. We're just waiting for our cap sets to arrive that make it really easy to flip through all the prints in the different colorways, and then we'll get that video filmed for you. But it's a beautiful collection. It is named after my great-great-grandmother, Emma, who was one of the quilters in our family who taught my grandmother to quilt. Emma was a prolific quilter. We'll tell you a little bit more about her when we film that full fabric collection video, but we're super excited to be able to have named this collection after her. We've got the dark grays, the light grays, a new shade of blue for us, a new shade of green for us, a new shade of yellow for us, a new slightly different shade of red for us that I really love. I feel like our soft coral and the darker color, those are both have come from previous collections. And then a really great set of low volume prints. But if you'll notice, we also have a panel included with this collection. It's tucked away here, down here, right at the very bottom, and I'll show you all of the images up close in a minute. This country home quilt features 8-pieced house blocks and another 8 blocks that use the panel images. So for example, this star in the center of this house is actually cut from the panel. This Ralph Waldo Emerson quilt is cut from the quote piece is cut from the panel. Right up here, this is my Star Bright quilt block, and it's part of the panel. And we have got some other quote blocks and some other log cabin from Chelsea's Hearts at Home, and a block with 4 log cabins. I'll show you all those later. But another exciting thing about this pattern and quilt is that it is going to be a Moda boxed quilt. So you can tell your favorite quilt shop now to please order this kit. It comes from Moda, and their boxes are just darling, and it will have everything that you need to make the quilt. It will have the background, the panel that you will need, all the fabrics, and the binding. So really excited that this is going to be a Moda boxed quilt. It goes together so quickly. I could not believe how quickly, because you're using the panel sections in here, that these alternate houses just go together really quickly. You could also, if you wanted, in these alternate houses, you could substitute another pieced quilt block if you have a favorite block that you'd want to alternate with the houses. You could easily substitute more pieced blocks, or you could make the block with more pieced houses and just use a few of the panel images if you have just a few that you really love and that speak to you. The possibilities are really endless. I also thought it would be really fun to make a bench pillow with 3 houses, and so I just actually got that done. So what I did was I pieced 2 house blocks, and then one of my favorite panel, I can't say it's my favorite because I love all 8 of the panel images, but I just love this Be of Good Cheer. And I thought, how fun would this be on a bench greeting my guests and visitors as they come to my home. Problem is I have to buy a bench now for my front porch, but I've got the pillow form ordered, and I just think it's going to be super cute. You could also use it on a bed You know, if you did a bed quilt with these fabrics or with a neutral, it would just be really fun. This would also make a great little wall hanging. I feel like just a really fun idea. And like I said, you could put whatever panel image you wanted in the center. I finished my pillow with a zipper. I've got a video on this. I feel like with these long, and I'll link the pillow form that I ordered. I just ordered it off of Amazon. But I just thought with the big long zipper, it's going to be really easy to get my pillow form in and out of my pillow. And so I just used the technique that I use for all my pillows and put that long zipper in. So I can actually also link the zipper and the pillow form. But really just so excited about this. Chelsea's also going to have a fun quilt with these panels that she'll be sharing with you later as well. But right here, before we go into the closing, I'm going to actually clear the table and just kind of show you a few tips and tricks about trimming these panel sections to use in your quilts and projects. Okay, I just want to show you a few things about the panel. As I mentioned, I'm super excited about it. You do get a panel if you purchase a fat quarter bundle. You also get a panel if you purchase the boxed quilt kit that I talked about earlier, where you get all the parts and pieces to make the quilt. The panels, if you get them from your local quilt shop and they come off the bolt, there's a place where, I'll just show you kind of, so right here where they cut the panel for you. And then I've got one that I cut so I can show you all of the parts and pieces. So I cut this one off of my yardage. And so this is what is at the bottom of your fat quarter bundle, or will come in the boxed quilt kit. So it has all 8 images, and I'll just kind of start right here and show them all. The Be of Good Cheer. This is actually the design from my Starlight pattern. This is Chelsea's Hearts at Home 2, the little log cabins with the small hearts. This is a favorite quote of ours by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Many eyes go through the meadow, but few see the flowers in it. This next part of the panel has a Dresden. Dresdens are really significant. Emma, my great-great-grandmother, who we named this collection after, she made lots of Dresden blocks, so I felt like we had to have a Dresden. This is a favorite quote of ours by Laura Ingalls Wilder. Be happy with simple pleasures and have courage when things go wrong. Just love the flowers that Chelsea designed to go around this quilt. It's actually from one of the prints in the collection. So, and it's the same little flowers around the 2 quotes. And then finally, this is the star design from my Timeless quilt pattern. And up here is a log cabin, Chelsea's original Hearts at Home, kind of with the heart. So all of these, there's the red dotted lines, which can help you separate these. And I'm just going to show you a few tips and tricks. So when you're getting ready to use one of these panels, what I suggest you do is that you first separate the panels using the dotted lines. So I'm just going to show you quickly. I don't think I quite got through the end there. Okay. So you're going to then separate it right here. Okay. So then, yeah, that's what I would suggest, is that you first just go ahead and do just the rough separating. Just get them all separated using those dotted lines. I wouldn't even worry about the bottom and top dotted lines. So after that, you're going to actually trim it down to the size that is required in the pattern. And I actually have this quilt pattern and one of the pattern that Chelsea did with these panel images. I believe we are trimming them to the same size for that, but I have another quilt that it will work with that you'll trim slightly different. So look into your pattern and see the size that the pattern needs, that the panel needs to be, so that you can trim it exactly to that size. And I suggest using a square ruler so that you can line it up. So I've got a 12.5 by 12.5, which will do that. Another thing that I've really liked about this panel is that some panels I've used in the past, there hasn't been a lot of kind of free space around. And I feel like with the free space around all of our panel images, it's really helpful in helping you trim them correctly. So what you can do is just, I'm going to trim this one down to a 10 by 10. For some reason, I'm going to turn it towards me. So I'm going to, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my design. So my design for this one is about 7.5 by 8. So it's a little bit rectangular, but I'm going to trim this down to a 10 by 10. And so since it's 7.5, that leaves about an inch. I want to leave about 1.25 inches on each side. So I'm going to, first I'm going to worry about this side. So I've got 1.25 inches. It's a little bit more here because the F sticks out a little bit further than the D, and it's a little around 1.25 inches there. So, and I'm going to just make sure that my lettering is pretty straight with one of the lines. I've got the letters G-O-O-D lined up with a line here. And I'm going to trim that. And I'm going to flip it around, and now I'm going to just make sure that it's 10 inches. And before I go ahead and trim, I'm still going to make sure, hey, do I have about 1.25 inches? Yeah. And I have about 1.25 inches to this outermost part of the F. So I'm going to trim that. So now I've got this exactly 10 inches wide. Now I'm going to get my 10 inches this way and make sure it's centered. And as I mentioned before, this is about 8 inches. So I'm going to have just about 1 inch on either side of this top and 1 inch on the bottom. I'm going to keep my lines straight with the sides that have already been trimmed. Trim that. And trim this last side. Okay, so now I've got a 10 by 10 square. I've got plenty of room around my image for the seam allowance. I could actually easily trim this down another inch. Actually, one of my patterns, you trim it down to a 10 by 10, and my other pattern, you trim it down to about 9.5 by 9.5, I believe. So, but I feel like you could even take it a little smaller if you needed to on some of the panel images. They are a little bit different, so you'll have to individually trim each panel, but you'll just need to get it into a perfectly square piece before you get ready to set it in your quilt. And as I mentioned, it really is super helpful to have all the white space around the edges of these panel images. And hopefully that will help you as you work on some of these projects and use these images. Okay, that's it for the new Country Home pattern made with our Emma fabrics from our brand new Emma collection with Moda. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you'll enjoy making some of these projects very soon that we talked about. And if you did enjoy today's video, please share it with a friend. Hit the subscribe button to our channel if you haven't already, and like the video. Thanks so much for stopping by.